Episode 6, The Birth of Fission, Power Unleashed. The universe was vast and its secrets deep. The elements, each born with their own purpose, had been scattered across the cosmos, shaping worlds, forging bonds and fighting battles. But now something far more dangerous was stirring. A force so powerful it could tear apart the very fabric of the universe. This force was called fission, the splitting of atoms, a process that would unleash unimaginable energy. In the dark, hidden corners of space, uranium and his ally thorium had awakened. These radioactive elements held within them the key to a force that could change the universe forever. And now, as the universe began to tremble under the weight of their power, the time had come for them to reveal what they had long kept hidden. Unlike the stable elements of the Forge of War, the metals who found strength through unity and bonds, uranium and thorium were different. Their power came not from what they could build, but from what they could destroy. They were unstable, unpredictable, and dangerous. At the heart of uranium's power was the process of fission, the ability to split apart his atomic core, releasing a flood of energy that could ripple across the universe in waves of destruction. But until now, uranium had kept that power contained, waiting for the moment when he could unleash it upon the cosmos. In the depths of space, uranium stood alone, his energy pulsing like a storm waiting to be unleashed. He could feel it within him, the instability, the cracks in his core that held back the immense power of fission. But as the universe continued to change, and the balance of the elements began to shift, uranium knew that his time had come. With thorium at his side, uranium began to experiment with the limits of his power. At first it was a small thing, a single atom split, releasing a flicker of energy into the void. But the flicker soon became a flame, and the flame a roaring inferno. Uranium had discovered the secret of fission, and with it, he now held the power to reshape the universe, or to destroy it. The first time uranium unleashed his fission, the effects were devastating. His atomic core split, and in that moment, the energy contained within him was released in a violent wave, a surge of destruction that spread across the stars. The bonds that held him together were shattered, and the universe trembled at the force of the explosion. In the wake of the blast, uranium stood silent, his energy still crackling, but his form unbroken. For while the power of fission had split him apart, uranium was resilient. He could reform, rebuild his core, only to split it again, each time releasing more and more energy. The effects of uranium's fission were felt across the cosmos. The stars themselves flickered as the energy wave passed through them, and the elements scattered in their distant realms began to take notice. For this was no ordinary conflict, this was the beginning of something far greater, far more dangerous. In the realm of metals, iron and the other transition metals could feel the disturbance in the fabric of space. They had long prepared for the battles between the elements, but this was different. The power of fission threatened not just their kingdoms, but the very stability of the universe itself. Iron knew that if uranium's power were to go unchecked, it could unravel everything they had built. Iron, ever the leader, called upon his allies, copper, nickel, chromium, and the others. Together, they would need to find a way to withstand the power of fission, to protect their realms from the destructive force that uranium had unleashed. They began to forge new weapons, new defenses, using their mastery of alloys to create materials that could resist the devastating energy of radioactivity. But even as the Forge of War prepared for battle, iron knew that this conflict would not be won with strength alone. The power of fission was unlike anything they had faced before. It was not just a physical force, but an energy that could break the bonds between atoms, unraveling the very essence of matter. To fight it, they would need more than weapons. They would need to find a way to contain the power of uranium himself. And yet, even as uranium's power grew, he felt a deep unease within him. For while he held the key to the most destructive force in the universe, He also knew that his power could not be controlled forever. The energy of fission was unstable, unpredictable. Once released, it could spiral out of control, consuming everything in its path. Uranium, for all his power, had not yet found a purpose for his destruction. He was a force of nature, but he had no direction, no reason for the chaos he could unleash. And so he turned to thorium, hoping that together they could find a way to harness the power of fission, not for destruction, but for something greater. Thorium, ever the more measured of the two, had long understood the potential of radioactivity. He knew that while fission could bring destruction, it could also bring change that could be used to fuel creation, to power the stars, to give life to new worlds. But to do so would require balance, control and restraint, qualities that uranium, in his raw power, had not yet mastered. Together, uranium and thorium began to explore the limits of fission. They sought to find a way to channel its energy, to harness its destructive potential and turn it into something more, a force that could shape the future of the universe, not destroy it. But the path to such control was fraught with danger, and the risk of failure was ever present. And so the universe waited, watching as uranium's power continued to grow. The other elements, sensing the danger, began to prepare for the worst. The noble gases, with their stable and unreactive nature, withdrew even further into their distant realms, hoping to avoid the conflict altogether. The alkali metals and halogens, always eager for reaction, braced themselves for the storm that was coming. But it was the forge of war that prepared most intently. Iron and his kin, ever the builders, ever the protectors, knew that the battle ahead would require all their strength, all their resilience. They forged new shields, new weapons, using the strongest alloys they could create, hoping that they would be enough to withstand the power of fission. Yet even iron, in all his wisdom, knew that the power of radioactivity could not be fought with force alone. There had to be another way. A way to contain uranium's energy, to prevent him from unraveling the universe itself. But what that way was, iron had yet to discover. The universe stood on the edge of a precipice. The power of fission had been unleashed, and the elements were now preparing for the battle to come. But even as uranium's destructive energy grew, a glimmer of hope remained. For if fission could be harnessed, if its power could be controlled, it could become a force for creation, not just destruction. The future of the universe hung in the balance, and the elements knew that the time for action was near. But the question remained. Would uranium find a way to control his power? Or would the universe be consumed by the very force that had the potential to reshape it? Join us next time as we explore the rise of nuclear energy and the search for balance in the midst of chaos. The elements are preparing for a confrontation that will change the fate of the universe and the story of the elements forever.